Good afternoon. Yeah. So welcome to our first legislative briefing. My name is Laura Poskin, and I'm the Director of Age-Friendly Greater Pittsburgh. We have been looking forward to this day for a long time. Thank you all for being here. We are so grateful to have a tremendous turnout of elected officials. Everybody? And they're represented here today either in person or by their staff. We would like to just take a moment to acknowledge Jordan Ball, who is representing Senator Casey, who is the senior ranking Democrat in the Special Committee on Aging. That's pretty amazing. We'll be scheduling a meeting with him soon. Thank you to AARP Pennsylvania and to Southwestern Pennsylvania Partnership for Aging for bringing us together. And everybody, maybe you saw the cake, but we're coming together on my 35th birthday. So it is literally, thank you. It is literally my job to celebrate the gift that is growing older, so it's very fitting. We also, one of our AARP volunteers, Elaine, where's Elaine? Elaine, she's working. It's her 73rd birthday, so that's exciting. Yeah. We celebrate birthdays around here. So real fast, before we get started, who has some signs? Oh, yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a quick picture. People who have action plans, you can also hold up your action plans. We're just gonna pause for a moment because this is a very special occasion and take a picture. So, photographer. Yeah. Good one. Fabulous. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so the age-friendly movement is all about making our region more inclusive and respectful of every generation. So a sidewalk that works better for my 4-year-old niece is gonna work better for me, her 35-year-old aunt. It's also gonna work better for her 85-year-old neighbor. So age-friendly design when it comes to physical spaces, so things like the sidewalks, but also when it comes to programs and opportunities. It lets us all participate in and enjoy the communities that we call home. And ultimately, that's what we're after. This past October, we unveiled our 30-step action plan, which many of you waved around. And the plan is to make our region a place where all generations thrive. So today we're here to provide an overview of our work to date and invite all of you to join us. We'll be sharing ways that you can get involved today, tomorrow, and until we meet again. So yes, this is not the only legislative briefing we're gonna be doing. This is the first of 4. And so our legislative briefing, if you want to get out your phones, the next one is going to be on May 31st, also a Thursday. It'll be from 3 to 5 in the Gold Room. So we're going to be alternating between City Council and County Council. Today we're going to move around a little, so we'll start with some remarks up here, and then we'll kind of go around the table here to hear from some of our partners who are bringing the action plan to life. So some specifics. I always like to walk away with specifics. Inclusive and respectful, what does that mean? So we'll begin by hearing from representatives from City Council and the County Executive's Office and the Mayor's Office. So now it is my pleasure to turn it over to Councilwoman Deb Gross, our host here in the City Council chamber and an incredible champion of our work. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. But Laura, can I screw up your schedule already, even though I just stepped up here? Because the mayor is outside and he's going to make a surprise appearance. But I want to tell a little story before he comes in the door, because I first met Bill Peduto when he was working at City Council for City Councilmen. And it really reminds me of that day right now, because I was coming to him as a much younger person, maybe around Laura's age at the time. And I had this idea. I was working with a bunch of crazy volunteers for a transit project. To run a bus connecting 10 city neighborhoods with one another. And it was really, it's that theme, I think, that we're here to talk about again today. It was a way to get people from neighborhood, to connect to the neighborhoods in a circle around the center part of the city. And that's the same thing that we're still striving to do, is to create connections to build community and get Pittsburghers connected to one another. So if I may, I think he was just outside moments ago. He's eating? Okay, so I'll continue with my remarks, and then when I get through them, we'll get a chance to talk with Mayor as well. So last November, I traveled to Dallas, Texas with AARP, so thank you very much for hosting me. It was really an opportunity to share ideas and hear from cities, towns, villages all across the nation about what they're doing to build connections and to prioritize people as we do the business of the city on a daily basis. And that's one thing that I'm trying to keep in front of me, right? So in all the decisions that we make, whether about budgets or about policies or about what we're doing to build a new Pittsburgh, let's prioritize people and think about how to get them always at the center of our policies. I currently represent District 7, which includes about 8 neighborhoods. It's actually 10 if you break Lawrenceville up into 3 different neighborhoods, which some people do. So it starts here at the Convention Center, so it's all the Strip District, Lawrenceville, most of Stanton Heights, Morningside, Highland Park, but also Polish Hill, Bloomfield, Friendship, and also that kind of corridor that you think of as the Baum Center corridor. And they are the part of the city that is both part of our most historic parts of the city. They were really pre-car neighborhoods, most of them. But at the same time are currently the parts of the city that are really undergoing more change than any of the other 90 neighborhoods. Literally 70% of the real estate development in the city is occurring in my district. The vast majority of building permits, from 300-unit buildings to people redoing their homes. And the neighborhoods are really undergoing a turnover. And so we have this opportunity to make choices and to really think about intersection by intersection. I'm so happy to see constituents in the room who I know are working on these issues, to think about how people can get to the things they need to get to. Not everybody leaves their house in the morning to come downtown. And so we have new ways of working, we have new ways of post-working, and we really want to create a city for people to live in, not just to commute to downtown. And so we really need to think differently about all sorts of mobility, whether that's transit, whether that's buses, whether that's sidewalks, and also the amenities that are in those neighborhoods. So it may be the library, it may be doctor's offices, it may be daycare centers. How do we get to the destinations that we need in order to do our daily life? And in some way, the curious part about these neighborhoods too, especially the Strip in Lawrenceville, if you've been reading some of the tech news or even our local news, we host almost all of the robotics sector in the Strip in Lawrenceville. So I've lost count. I was saying 25, but it may be well over that now, different firms that are just in the Strip in Lawrenceville alone. Most of them around autonomous vehicles of some kind. So the Moonlander is an autonomous rocket. The little boat thing is the little autonomous boat that's doing Department of Defense research. The sewer robot that's doing the camera work is an autonomous sewer robot. And it goes on and on. There's an autonomous strawberry picker and an autonomous minesweeper. And so it's really, in some ways, we have the opportunity, and certainly I think well over 1,000 employees in the autonomous car sector alone. And in some ways, we're looking for that opportunity of how we go from a pre-car built environment to maybe a post-car built environment. And so we shouldn't be relying on last century's models of how to do cities or even our zoning or our transportation plans around kind of 1950s cars, right? So that's a challenge because we have to do things differently than we were doing them last year or the year before. But it's also an opportunity that we all need to have input on and to kind of share our resources and our people power. The core, though, is where I started, is that we're trying to create connections between actual people. In having neighborhoods that are turning over so dramatically, the risk is that we lose connection to one another. Instead of everyone knowing everyone on their street, there are streets in the United States where no one knows anyone on their street, right? And a sea of strangers, I like to remind people, is not a neighborhood. A neighborhood has neighbors. You literally have to be a neighbor. And that neighbor needs to, behave like a neighbor to you as well. We like to keep that in front of us as well. But that takes work. If any of you have lived in these communities knows, you have to get out of your comfort zone sometimes to reach out even to the person across the street. So that's why I'm so encouraged about this age-friendly plan, is that it gives us tools to do that, because sometimes you just don't know what it is you should do, right? And these are going to be programs to help each and every one of us do that. So thank you. I'm going to check and see. Is anyone going to check outside and see if the mayor is ready to come in? And again, I'm so proud to be a supporter of Mayor Peduto and to have connected with him so many years ago, because he, I think, saw this opportunity decade before he thought about running for mayor, and even before he was a city councilman, and has been doing this hard work in creating neighborhoods that we want to live in for many years. Mayor Peduto, are you ready for your moment? There he is. Neighborhood champion, transit advocate, your Mayor Peduto. Thank you, Mayor.
I was literally eating a sandwich. First off, thank you to the leaders here from so many different organizations that help to make sure that those who age with dignity, to the volunteers and others that are a part of it. Just want to say thank you. Pittsburgh has the opportunity to become the model and to be really looked at as an example of how cities can not just be respectful of seniors, but to assure them the quality of life that they deserve. And I know you guys realize this, but government can't do it. We just simply can't do it alone. We can provide a baseline of services that assure the security, the safety, and the well-being. But in order to be able to really afford people the quality of life they deserve, it really involves nonprofit organizations in a community that can come together. And that's what makes Pittsburgh special, because we're big enough that people will take notice when we do really good things, but we're small enough that it sort of all works out in a really good way. I had an opportunity the other day to meet one of our newest detectives, a young guy who I was with, and I'm talking to him, and he said, "Do you know Frank Peduto?" And I'm like, "Of course, it's my uncle." He goes, "I grew up next door to him." And that type of connectivity happens all the time. And if we can use that same type of Pittsburgh one-off as a way to be able to provide services, because within the community of serving our seniors, the organizations and the leaders of those organizations all know each other. So I'm here to say that the city of Pittsburgh is 100% in with an age-friendly agenda. We want to be the conveners to be able to enable you to do more. We're not looking at this as simply what we can do through our senior programs, but how our senior programs can be that basis, and then everything, an entire community, an entire city, being accessible for all. For all. And we look forward to working with you. It's great to see my friend Hal English, our state representative from the North Hills, here with us, and also a representative from Senator Casey's office. Having the state, the federal government, the city government, and the county government as well. I hope you do understand that the resources are there. You just have to find a way to pull it together, and the accessibility part of this mission to be critical of making sure everything is there for them. So, thank you. I'm going to go finish my sandwich. I'm getting to share a birthday girl out there, getting to celebrate her birthday with her. So, it's nice to be able to sit down and talk to some of the seniors themselves and get an idea. Oh, and by the way, two things that happen when you turn 50. Neither of them are pleasant. But you realize, and I am paid up to date. Thanks, guys.
Good afternoon. I could not help this morning reflect, as I've done so often, the words of my Nuna, my grandmother. And it was when I was a child I asked her, Nuna, what gave you the courage to come to America? And she said, it was not courage. It was the pursuit of freedom. But I think we know that freedom is not a destination. Freedom is a journey throughout the seasons of our lives. And so I'm honored to come today on behalf of County Executive Fitzgerald to celebrate that journey of seasons. From the spring season of the smile of the small child to the latter seasons of the soft touch of the older adult. That's what this is about. For those of us in government and proud Americans, we realize that it is not just a moral imperative to give dignity, as the mayor said, but more importantly, it is about the fullness of life. It is about the Jeffersonian democracy. It is about saying that all of us have the right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That it isn't just about an older adult having life and having many years, but it is a life filled with dignity and opportunity. It is not just about liberty and enjoying the liberties that we have, but it is understanding that every day that older adult must feel they have access and connectivity to those around them. That's what liberty is about. And last, it is the pursuit of happiness. Not just on those special days as we have today when we blow the candles of 73 candles. It isn't just that. It is a fullness of life. It is knowing that there will not be social isolation in our county. No one should be isolated. And so we come today to join you in this wonderful meeting to celebrate that experience, that we will indeed be age-friendly throughout all the seasons. So happy that County Executive and the Mayor joined on this initiative very early, because we understand that is what makes us great. And I also, for those of you I know have joined us, ask you to also commit by signing that pledge, the pledge that indeed this county is age-friendly. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you all very much. I want to thank Laura for giving me some talking points. I'm going to stick to them, Laura, okay? I'm going to stick to them. I just wanted to say thank you for having the city be part of this. And on behalf of Mayor Peduto, who proudly showed you, his AARP card, and I told him that's not a bad thing. You get discounts. I said, You get discounts. Go in and say, do you give discount for this food? And then let them tell you. But as Chief Urban Affairs Officer, who is basically oversees the Bureau of Neighborhood Empowerment, which is an arm of the Office of the Mayor, which oversees the quality of life. Generally, the quality of life. It does include bricks and mortar. It includes social services. It includes seniors. It includes young people, the LGBT community, education, business development. We can go diversity, inclusion, on and on and on. But it is just an umbrella for what is needed to grow this city and to make it livable for everybody. Hi, Aaron. They told me not to mention anybody, elected officials or anything, or any appointees, because somebody else is going to do that. Anyway. But I do want to also echo Mary Estefan Schur's call to action, is for all the elected officials, this is a legislative briefing, is to encourage all elected officials to sign the pledge, and it is to show their commitment to older constituents and people of all ages. But it's not just that. It is to a quality of life, of inclusion. Residents ages 65 and older currently represent 16.8% of Allegheny County's population, compared to 13% nationally. I've always known that this region had a high proportion of our seniors. I mean, we were compared to Miami-Dade. But the percentage is expected to increase to 22% by 2030, because guess what? Millennials get older, Generation X gets older, everybody's getting older. And eventually baby boomers will be the more aged. And then what's behind us will be, you know, the typical population. So we are growing because our life expectancy is increasing. Our quality is increasing. So there's going to be more older people around. What that means is that our region is growing. Oftentimes in the city, and I know the mayor hears this all the time, is that the millennials. It's a young population and everybody's hip and everybody's this and that. But you know what? I find a lot of seniors, as myself, who choose to remain in the city. So it is for all of us. And even though we see a lot of young people gravitating and they go to there's so many foodie places to eat. And then you see the seniors looking for maybe an Eden Park or you know, somewhere where we're comfortable with. But you see the populations, but it's not mutually exclusive. It's just that we have groupings within this region. And it should be a beautiful thing. And we should know to get to know one another and to celebrate each other. I personally have been involved in the Age-Friendly Transportation Work Group, led by Karen Hesch at Access and Sarah Papperman from Wesley Family Services. This group is working on an online transportation planning tool to help riders find options that match their specific needs and preferences. We want everybody to have the opportunity to get where they need to go. Now, you see me scoot up here, okay? I broke my ankle, falling down some icy steps that were untreated. But I can't sue anybody because it was a family member. I can't sue. I'm gonna get blood out of a turnip, not out of my kid. So, but one thing that is a blessing, because I haven't hurt anything except a bone, and a smaller leg bone nonetheless, nothing else, not a hip, not a head, not anything else. So I am blessed to just have this, but I'm also blessed with this opportunity, even though it is so inconvenient and so irritating, to understand what the mobility challenge community goes through. I know very well what the mobility challenge community goes through. To go up to a door and see that it looks accessible, where's the button so I can open the door? Don't give me a I can't get in there. And who's getting up there, open the door? What I have found is that accessibility is not necessarily totally accessible. There are little nuances that you don't think of. As I participated on the transportation work group, and we talked about buses and shelters and how people can get from A to B by public transportation, which we want to promote, the catch is getting there. I know that on Sunday, when I try to go to my church, my husband says, well, I can let you off on Penn Avenue and you can roll down to the ramp. And they know I can roll, okay? But I told him, I said, I can't. You have to let me off close to the corner. He says, why? I said, did you look at the sidewalk? No one's maintaining those sidewalks. I'm going to kill myself going over those sidewalks. There's so many nuances that people don't think of. So this is a blessing for me to actually be in the trenches with people that have these challenges and to understand what needs to be done. Age-friendly Greater Pittsburgh is about making our neighborhoods more inclusive and respectful of every generation. And as a Pittsburgh resident and as a leader in the mayor's office, I am 100% behind that. Thank you all for all your participation.
Thank you all so much. Next, we're going to hear from the two organizations that are behind today's event. So we're going to have a speaker from AARP Pennsylvania, Linda Wortham, and then we're going to have a speaker from Southwestern Pennsylvania Partnership for Aging, or SWPA, Jen Marchek. So, Linda?
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Wortham, and I am a 67-year-old, and I'm here on behalf of AARP Pennsylvania, which represents 1.8 million members across the Commonwealth and the 50-plus community at large. We are proud to sponsor today's briefing. I know Jen Blatz and Marianne Raymer were integral in pulling this together today. Thank you both very much. AARP Pennsylvania is a huge sponsor for the age-friendly movement in Allegheny County and Pittsburgh. We know that living in a community that supports all ages, all stages of life, and all activities, that's a community that I want to enjoy, explore, and thrive in. A bit about me. I'm a line dancer every week at the Vintage Center. I know sign language, and I sign regularly at my church. I've also been a floor manager at several local theaters for the past 2 years. I am an active member of this community, and so are other people age 50 and older who want to work, play, and age in our neighborhoods. To me, that's very important, and that's what age-friendly movement is about, being able to enjoy life right here where I live. An age-friendly Greater Pittsburgh means that our streets are safer, our homes and facilities are easy to access and as we get older, and that we have opportunities to connect socially and give back to our community. An age-friendly community is a friendly community, and that's a community I want to be a part of and see. And so does AARP Pennsylvania. I speak for all of us at AARP Pennsylvania when I say we are excited and we are proud of the work that is being done in Allegheny County and Pittsburgh. Thank you for joining us. Have a good day.
Good afternoon. I'm Jen Marchek, and I'm representing Southwestern Pennsylvania Partnership for Aging, better known as SWPA. We are an organization that has been around for about 28 years now, and we have about 300 members, and those members represent over 1 million older adults in 10 counties in southwestern PA, so comparable numbers. SWPA has worked over the years to build a better place for us to grow up and grow old. We are excited to have been bringing this age-friendly movement to Pittsburgh and Allegheny County, and hopefully the other counties, the other 10 counties as well. But this work initiated with lots of support from organizations over the last many years to build this community. Laura wasn't kidding when she said it's been a long time in coming. It has. Good work, though. And formally, though, I did want to make a comment that in 2015, in the fall of 2015, that's when we submitted our application to the World Health Organization's Global Network of Age-Friendly Communities. Part of that application did include, as the mayor said, a letter of commitment signed by Mr. Peduto and Mr. Fitzgerald. And we are very, very thankful for that letter as part of that application. It set us on a path a little different from a lot of the other communities that have submitted their applications. We also want to thank the Hillman Family Foundation. Age-Friendly Greater Pittsburgh was made possible through a generous grant from the Mary Hillman Jennings Foundation. We also want to thank more than 100 organizations that participated and over 800 residents that helped to create the Age-Friendly Greater Pittsburgh Action Plan. This plan now has been accepted, as Laura mentioned, by the World Health Organization and has been noted in a number of articles, both locally, nationally, and I'm very excited about the Forbes magazine article that went out. Personally, my piece now is more surrounded with some good colleagues and co-facilitators in the dementia friendly. So nowadays, a lot of the cities and communities that submit applications are submitting tandem applications for dementia friendly. So our group is working on dementia friendly. We have a very energized, enthusiastic, and I love it. It's a lot of energy here. But this group is comprised of experts in the field of Alzheimer's and other dementias, as well as family members of people living with Alzheimer's or other dementias. And I sort of stress living with because, as some of us in the room know, folks who have dementia and Alzheimer's can live for many years. And we want to ensure that they thrive in the places they love and amongst the people that they love. Our work group meets regularly, and we really try to find ways to provide the education and engagement from the community, all the way from arts educators to bus drivers, anyone who wants to be a part of the circle of support that allows people to live with dementia in their communities. I'd like to thank you all, and I'll turn this back over to Laura.
Thank you, Jen and Linda. So I've moved. We're back here at the table now. So the action plan that we're talking about, it's split into 3 focus areas: access, connection, and innovation. And today we want to give you one example from each focus area. But we don't want you to walk away thinking that we're only doing 3 things. There are 30 action items in the action plan. So to illustrate this, that's why we printed the signs. So everyone who has a red sign, if you could hold it up right now, wave it around. Yeah, there they are. Good one. So these represent access. So access is primarily about the built environment, so things like housing, transportation, mobility. We envision a region that's open to all of us. Like Valerie said, it's easy to get around. It's easy to find and afford different options, whether we're looking for a new home or a ride across town. And we can all feel comfortable crossing the street. And that's what we're going to hear about now from Ted and from Rose. So Ted, right here to my right, is from a group called Lively Pittsburgh that has been a huge part of Age-Friendly Greater Pittsburgh from the very beginning. During our planning process, they organized 7 workshops across the county that brought people together to get them talking and to get them really thinking about things that they could do on the local level, like how they could take action right away. And so Lively's overarching goal is to inspire healthy neighborhoods. So with that, Ted, you can take it away.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Laura. So I'm Ted Cimarata, and remarkably, I am 67 years old. I never quite imagined being here, but I got to say, it's wonderful. I probably never quite imagined being in this room either with Age-Friendly Pittsburgh, but I am really grateful to be a part of this organization and this movement. I grew up in Clairton and then left for several decades, left the area. I've been a psychotherapist and worked in community mental health for over 40 years. And I came back to Pittsburgh with my wife, Susan, about 10 years ago. And we were in search of a lively, inclusive, vibrant environment, a community, a true community. I think because it had something of the feeling of home, I was willing to make some assumptions about all of that. But since we've been here, since I've been back, I see how very real it is that Pittsburgh is the kind of community that currently embraces people of all ages, and at the same time falls short in some of that. And I think what has always attracted me is that there's always work to do. There's something that can be made better. At the age of 67, people often speak to me about retirement, their retirement, my retirement, and I really find that such an odd concept. I have no interest in the proverbial gold watch or the imaginary golden parachute. It's a golden opportunity that I was really much more interested in. And I find being here in Pittsburgh in this time of my life just incredibly valuable. It is the golden opportunity. It's the opportunity to take a good community with wonderful people and make it a better community. And I'm convinced that a way of doing that is by helping generations experience and learn from one another. I'm here to really represent Lively and the work that Lively Pittsburgh is doing with and for age-friendly Pittsburgh. We've been having a lot of fun. Sometimes it's hard to realize we're going to work. We're a part of helping to activate the age-friendly action plan. And we've gotten started recently with some activities that we've identified as the crossings. Now, so this is part of the access phase of the implementation of the age-friendly plan. As Laura and others were speaking, I was thinking about access, and I realized that we tend to think sometimes about access in terms of disability, people with disabilities. Sometimes we think about access in terms of, oh, well, we'd like to have the elderly have access to the things all the rest of us have. I think, unfortunately, even any of that is too limited a view. Access means that we have access to one another. That's what community means. It's a wonderful thing if we can help folks as they age to have access to the amenities of the city. But it's really also about having access to the people who are coming up and growing, to their children and their grandchildren and the peers of that family, so that people can benefit from the vibrancy of youth. But at the same time, access needs to be a mutual phenomenon where the people in the millennial generation, in all generations, have access to the elderly, to people with disabilities who might otherwise be more isolated, who might otherwise be more limited in their contacts, but who have a wealth of wisdom, life experience to share, to bestow with others, and to contribute to community vitality. So this is what we try to do. So we put on some parties in the street. They were called the crossings. What we did was identify with community groups some particularly hazardous intersections. And we decided that we wanted to bring attention to the hazards, but we also wanted to build some community around an activity that would help everyone recognize a number of things. One, the problems with access in the intersection itself, but also that, as Councilwoman Gross mentioned earlier, that we have to stop thinking of ourselves as a car-centered and automobile-centered city and society, and realize that it's not the job of bicycles and bicyclists and pedestrians to find their way through the hazards of traffic. What we at Lively Pittsburgh hope to do is build a foundation of empathy in the community. Empathy that helps all people realize that we depend upon one another for our well-being, we depend upon one another for our safety. One of our slogans when we take to our actions in the street is that we are vulnerable together and safer together. In our empathy, we recognize that we have the same, we share the same vulnerability as human beings. And then in the simple movement in an intersection, we share the same vulnerability to accidents, to disruption of our lives, frankly. So we put on some parties in the street to draw attention, to show motorists, also passersby, that the identified intersections created hazards, that they might, for instance, be situations where people don't have enough time to cross the street, or where the streetscape and the sidewalks themselves are not friendly to people, whether in wheelchairs or with baby carriages, for that matter. We put on a lot of hats in these parties. We played great music. We carried signs. We obeyed traffic signals, but nonetheless, I think we're a real showstopper in each place we went. We did an event in East Liberty. We had our next crossings in Lawrenceville and finally in Bloomfield. And we look forward to some more events that will bring attention to this. I know that all of you will get it in your email that follows up this event, links to these videos, and I encourage you to take a look and maybe call to bring us to your neighborhood. One of the best things that happened for me in the crossings in Lawrenceville was that I got to meet our next speaker, who is Rose Fields, and to learn something of her story, which she's going to share with you today. So again, I thank you all for being here and for the support that you give to this important cause of building an age-friendly community.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank Ted for initiating the crossings, because I never would have gotten involved in this if it hadn't been for his group. My name is Rose Field. I'm 73 and I live in York Commons. Now that's an affordable high-rise for people 62 and over and handicapped people. I've lived in the city most of my life. I had a home in Point Breeze for 25 years, and I'm a retired landscape designer. As you might assume, since I've been in landscaping all my life, I worked at Phipps and so on, I have a great affinity for nature and plants, trees, and all of that. Right across the street from my home is a city park that I have never once been in because I can't get to it. I'm afraid to go to it. When I participated in the crossings last spring, I had lived in York Commons for 5.5 years, and at that point, I had never once attempted to cross 40th or Penn Avenue. I don't go to the convenience store, I don't go to the farmer's market, I don't take advantage of anything. I don't try to get across to a bus stop because I see how dangerous that intersection is. I knew at that point that one of the men in our building had his foot run over, and one of the workers at Canterbury, adjacent to our building, had been hit by a car the year before. Now, after the crossings, it was really great. Laura helped me across the street. I got to see the other side of 40th Street for once. And there are so many close calls that we continue to see, not just with older people, but with people with baby carriages, school children. That's a major crossing for school children there. And we've heard so much from our crossing guard there about the close calls she's had and about people that speed right through the intersection without paying any attention to her at all. Now, in that short time since the crossings at 40th and Penn, 2 of my friends from the building have been involved in hit-and-run accidents. On Halloween, a woman in a power chair was attempting to cross the street to get on a bus. Because there's a huge pothole right by the curb cut, she had to maneuver around, and a hit-and-run driver came down and ran over both her feet and kept going. Did $3,000 worth of damage to her wheelchair. She was in the hospital for 3 days and in rehab for 15 days. And of course, this is a terrible, as you can imagine, what sort of impact this has on an older person's life, on anyone's life, really. And then, about 2 or 3 weeks after that, another hit-and-run driver hit an elderly man crossing at 40th Street. Now, this fellow has been in our building for a long time, and he's very well known. He plays Santa Claus at our Christmas parties. He is dealing with a heart condition, diabetes, and metastasized cancer. He had a leg ulcer, which was almost healed at that point. A hit-and-run driver hit him, knocked the front wheels of his chair into the sewer opening where he was trapped. As a result of the impact, his wound reopened. 2 weeks ago, he had 5 toes amputated because of it. That driver has not been caught. If anybody sees a burgundy PT Cruiser with a big long scrape along one side from where his wheelchair hit it, get the license number and tell the police. Now, this month, along with a group from York Commons and Age-Friendly Pittsburgh, we shared recommendations with the city on how we'd like to make the intersection safer. And these suggestions were very well received. I know that this stuff doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take some effort to get changes, but we are encouraged because we've had productive conversations. Just because we're seniors doesn't mean that we should be trapped in our building. We need to get out. We need to participate in life. We want and deserve to be part of it. If we could just get across the street, that is. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rose, and thank you, Ted. Your story is so powerful. We really appreciate it. And I feel so lucky to be working with both of them, working with everybody actually up here. So the 3 performances that we're doing of the crossings this year, just so you know, they're going to be in Wilkinsburg, in Millvale, and Beachview. So looking over here. Okay, so everyone who has a green sign, I would like you to hold it up now. Yes. Great. Okay, thanks. So these represent connection. So connection is primarily about the social environment, and I think Ted did a great job of talking about the overlap between the social environment and the built environment. We envision a region that supports one another. It's understood that we're better when we move outside of our age silos, so we're not sitting at the kids' table and the adults' table our whole lives. And we come together to enjoy life. We celebrate the power of relationships that build bridges across ages and life experiences. So this is kind of the perfect segue to our next speaker, Seth Laidlaw, from the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust. So we actually met Seth. We met Seth and heard about the work that he's doing after we finalized the action plan. And so that's kind of our hope with all of this. We had more than 100 partners come together to do the planning, but we want it to be an ongoing experience and be welcoming new faces to this work all the time. So, Seth, your turn.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. And again, I'm so excited that we were able to connect and to be a part of this movement. Again, my name is Seth Laidlaw. I am 28 years old. I live in the Beachview neighborhood. I actually bought my house there about 1.5 years ago. And I am the education program manager for the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, and I've been there for the last 3 years. Hi. So yeah, I'm here today representing action item number 13, which is Arts for All. And the Cultural Trust is just one of the local arts organizations that is experimenting with new programming to foster dialogue and create unity across generations. And as part of the Cultural Trust mission, we strive to make our 14-block radius of the Cultural District a great place to live, work, and play for all people in our region, as well as visitors from around the world. So this past fall, the Education Department developed a new intergenerational program developed by myself and my colleague, Sarah Hamilton, who's here today as well. And in this program, we partner with a downtown childcare center and a group of 7 to 10 older adults from Community Life in Homestead. So most of you probably know Community Life, but they offer day centers for older adults, providing them the care that they need while still being able to live at home. And through networking and meeting a music therapist from Community Life, they were looking for opportunities to get out of their center as well during the day and find performance opportunities or ways to engage with the arts. And we have, because of our close relationship with some of the downtown childcare centers, we really wanted to start to develop this programming to create some authentic engagement between the two. So our grand friends, as we affectionately call them, from Community Life, range in age from 69 all the way to Tony, who is 99 years old. And our friends, our little friends at Small World Early Learning Center, ages 4 to 5, they come together to our Trust Arts Education Center every other week for 4 sessions. And we have 2 of our teaching artists that work with the group to create fun and engaging arts experiences in a variety of ways, in drama, in movement, in music, and in visual art. And the goals of the program are relatively simple. We really just want to increase dialogue and social connection across the generations. We also want to empower our grand friends to take lead in the program as well. So they arrive a half hour before the intergenerational program, before the children come. And our teaching artists work with them to model some of the behaviors, to provide some questions, to make the experience a little bit more comfortable for them to really take charge and have some fun conversations with the children. And anecdotally, it's been really successful so far. We noticed in the first session, the children would come in, they're a little hesitant, they shy away from the grand friends, and by the 4th session, they are running into their arms, almost knocking them over in excitement, and really enjoying the experience. So we're seeing across the grand friends and our little ones joy, curiosity, creativity, and overall excitement. So the program is still new. We are just in our 2nd pilot of this. And we're really inspired by the work that we're seeing right now in our education center. We're looking forward to continuing it and hopefully find additional funding that we can expand the program in the future. Because at the Trust, we understand the power that art has to connect people and to unlock the creativity in all of us. So thank you so much.
This is really incredible and innovative work that's happening. And I know that when we sat down with Seth, we said, we got to connect you with the pit, some people that can maybe do an evaluation and really make this evidence-based, not just anecdotal. So we're really nerding out about what you're doing. And we also, with the arts, we know that senior centers and, senior high-rise buildings, they have budgets for programming. And if we can connect them with some of these teaching artists in our community that are just doing wonderful, amazing work, we think that's going to be a big win. So we're excited about that happening. And we also, in addition to the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater, the Society for Contemporary Craft, and Heinz History Center are other partners of ours, just to name a few. Okay, so everybody who has a purple sign, it is your turn. Very good. Okay. So the purple signs, they represent innovation. Innovation straddles the built environment and the social environment. We envision a region that's relentlessly pushing for progress. And we know that we can all benefit from advancements in technology and design, not just millennials. I'm a millennial, but that's, and we should all be able to see what's on the horizon, things that are happening in Robotics Row. Let's get them out and let everybody be a part of the excitement that's happening here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mara Leff from Jewish Healthcare Foundation. We are endlessly supportive and inspired by the work that they're doing.
Thank you, Laura. This is a very exciting day. Like she mentioned, my name is Mara Leff. I am 29 years old, and I am a program manager at the Jewish Healthcare Foundation, and I'm also a resident of East Liberty. First, just on behalf of the Jewish Healthcare Foundation and its board and our president, Karen Feinstein, thank you so much to AARP and SWIPA and the whole team here, especially Laura and Jen, for organizing this event today. We are so excited to be here, and we are really proud partners of Age Friendly Greater Pittsburgh. Our aging agenda at the foundation spans all 26 years of our existence, and it was always, and it is always, built around the core principle that aging does not and should not have to mean a time of inevitable decline, but rather a time to flourish and to have some fun. And so this principle has really guided us in the past few years as we developed Senior Connections, which is our comprehensive initiative to look at meeting seniors where they are, starting community conversations around aging, and also improving the types of resources that are available in the areas of housing and exercise and recreation and medical practice and so much more. So today we are proud to be included in the Age-Friendly Greater Pittsburgh Action Plan, and it's really exciting to look around and be a part of a community of partners that share our belief that aging is something to be celebrated and embraced. So I'm here today to talk about number 27, which is the Virtual Senior Academy. As part of our Senior Connections initiative, we launched an innovative new approach to connecting seniors in the community through technology. Unfortunately, we know that as people age, life transitions can lead to increased feelings of social isolation and loneliness. And we know that that can be linked to adverse health effects. So we started something called the Virtual Senior Academy. And the Virtual Senior Academy provides a unique way for seniors to expand their social networks, stimulate their intellectual curiosity, expand their social networks, and really just feel a sense of connection to their community and peers. The Virtual Senior Academy is an online platform that connects seniors through interactive live classes. They're not recorded, it's face-to-face. They use video conferencing technology, and participants are able to log on from either a computer or a tablet and join a class with their peers from across the city and the county. We've tapped community partners from all sectors to provide classes on anything from how to manage your blood pressure, to a virtual book club, to a culinary tour of Italy, to a virtual sneak peek of the new exhibit at the Andy Warhol Museum. Classes are offered Monday through Friday and at varying times during the day. We're growing every week. We currently have more than 200 seniors signed up through the program. Seniors like Nancy, who's in gray here. Nancy is 87 and a retired nurse of 50 years who lives in Churchill. She is feisty, she's a voracious reader and a lifelong learner. Her mobility is declining and getting out of the house is more and more challenging, but now as a member of the Virtual Senior Academy, Nancy takes several classes a week and has found that her anxiety about not being able to get out has started to dissipate and that she's formed new relationships with fellow participants and facilitators. She's also found out that she has a passion for bald eagle conservation after taking a class with the Audubon Society. She's also my grandmother, so to me, she's just Nanny. Aside from folks like my grandma here who take classes from their homes, we also have partnered with the Allegheny County Area Agency on Aging to offer Virtual Senior Academy classes in senior centers across our region. Seniors can take classes in groups, in what we call congregate settings, or individually from the center using a computer or a tablet that's there. We're always looking for new partners to present content and ways to reach seniors to get them signed up for this free program. We're especially excited to work with the newly launched Connect Home USA program to help seniors become more comfortable with technology, improve their digital literacy, so that they can comfortably use this program to help them feel connected. If anyone is interested in getting involved, it is a lot of fun. Rose has been in a few of our classes, and Laura, and we have a really good time. You can check out our website, virtualsenioracademy.org, or you can get in touch with me, and I would love to tell you more. Like I said, it's a wonderful program that is not only making a difference, but is just a lot of fun. So thanks.
Thank you, Mara. I really want to take that Audubon class. It sounds fun. Okay, well, earlier I told you that we would share ways that you can get involved, so here they are. Today we're inviting elected officials to sign a pledge. And the pledge, we're going to have 2 people with clipboards standing right outside. And the pledge is, like the mayor said and Mary Esther said, the county executive and the mayor have been signed on for this for a long time. And now we're hoping over the course of our series of legislative briefings that we can get all Allegheny County officials to sign on. So here's what it says. So it says, I support the Age-Friendly Greater Pittsburgh Action Plan to elevate inclusion and respect among people of all ages and abilities, focusing on access, connection, and innovation. I pledge to work towards building a region that's open to all of us, a region that supports one another, and a region that's relentlessly pushing for progress. So I hope we can all agree to that in the room. So we're looking forward to having elected sign on to that. Also, we have a fantastic photographer here today, but I'm sure a lot of you have a camera in your pocket that you can take a picture. We have these signs that you could take a picture with and share them. We said tomorrow you could share, but you can share today. We have some pre-written content that it's just outside if people are interested to get a crafted tweet or a newsletter blurb. We would just love to just help get the word out about what we're doing. Until we meet again, so that is on May 31st from 3 to 5 in the Gold Room. And at that, we're not going to do an overview again. We're going to do a deep dive into one of the focus areas. So we're going to do a deep dive into access. So, but until then, we really want you to read the action plan. So this was developed by more than 100 organizations. We had to decide on the language that's used in there. You won't see elderly used in there because we know that older adults want to be called older adults. They want to be called older residents, or they maybe just want to be called residents or identified by 65 and older. But the language that we use and the stats that we use, you know, we've really spent time on that. So if you're ever interested in, you know, knowing how to say things, which I'm always concerned, am I saying the right thing? You know, look to the plan, but also look to the plan for, you know, the 30 action items. You heard about 3 of them here today. I'm sure that one of the action items in there aligns with something that you're doing. And so we really want to know about it. So if you can contact me. My information is going to be on the next slide, but I'm also around, so come and find me. I'm sure you can get in touch with Jim Blatz as well from AARP. But we want you to be reading the plan, and we also want you to be thinking about challenges, maybe one challenge that you see with your constituents. As well as a really promising solution that you've seen in your district, because chances are, I mean, Seth is a great example. This is already going on, and we want to be able to make it more visible and tell the story of what's happening. So again, get in touch. We would love to talk to you at more length after, you know, we have maybe 20 more minutes of this space, but we're always around and excited to connect with you. So thank you for being here today and participating in our first briefing. We look forward to seeing you next time.